To me, it was delightful. Honest to goodness village. There were brick walks that the Village Improvement Society built. Then they had oil lamps on the streets. Nearly everybody in town had half to 1 acre of ground. It was just a delightful atmosphere. I still can't get over it. I still say, I'm going to the village. Everyone in Falls Church used to have a front porch. I would love to just sit on my front porch watching the world go by, or just being still.
Hi, I'm Mark Coupard. I'm here with the Fredenbergs, Jack and Marion, and we're sitting on their porch on a pretty nice day. It's a little rainy, but it's a nice time of year. With there's still some leaves in the trees, and it's November, and a little bit of a breeze blowing, and a little bit of a shower going on, and but it's still very nice out here. Do you all spend a lot of time out here?
We spend a lot of time out here, morning, noon, and night. We enjoy watching the trees come out, and we enjoy watching the colors changing, and we enjoy watching people going up and down the street to the subway and coming home again.
You know, Metro's about a 6-minute walk right down there. You can see about a block down Van Buren Street from here. So early in the morning, you see all the commuters. Since I retired, it's a lot of fun sitting here and watching the commuters go to work. And then after they kind of leave, pretty soon the joggers start working through here.
It's fun watching them too, I guess.
Oh, that's a lot of fun, yeah. I can sit here and watch joggers. And then the mommies with their little babies in the strollers and other folks walking. So all day long there's a people spectacle going on. And then, of course, late in the afternoon, the poor commuters start coming back home again. I have no idea how many people walk from that subway station, but this is a main artery for coming up this way. And then they spread out from here.
Yeah, this is a nice vantage point to kind of keep in touch with the whole neighborhood, as it seems you do.
Just this morning, a lady walked up through there, and she saw us sitting here and walked up. So we get a lot of people come up on the porch just to talk to us.
We had some friends walk by. They have a dog. They have 2 dogs, as a matter of fact. And we invited them up, and they said, "Gee, we always wondered what the view was from up here." And they liked it.
Yeah, it's nice. It feels good. How long have you lived here?
40 years.
Since 1960, we moved in.
Yeah.
And raised a couple kids here, a few cabins?
4 kids, 4 boys.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what they did on the porch, but they certainly used it. Because on rainy days, this was a great place for them. And we had our baby gate up just on Labor Day because we had our little 1-year-old granddaughter here. And that kind of keeps them from falling down the stairs.
Yeah. And our 2-year-old grandson, great-grandson.
Nice. And prior to that, there was a fairly famous resident of this house. Who's that?
Well, not too long ago, Jim Fowler sat right down there in the steps, and we learned that in the 30s and 40s he lived here. Jim Fowler of the Animal Kingdom days.
Yeah, I'd heard that, but I didn't know where.
So yeah, he came in and he talked about the house for quite a while. I don't know how long the show was he did on 4 Mile Run, but we had a good time going through the house. But since then, we thought of some other questions we should have asked him. But this was just a farmhouse then, with none of these other houses around here. So, that's where he got his early interest in animals. In fact, he had a screened-in back porch at that time. Speaking of porches, and he kept his animals out on that back porch some of the time.
And he also remembered that the porch did curve around the corner over here, and there was an entrance over there. We often surmised that.
Now you said that there had been a doctor's office here previously
I
too?
was told, and I can't think who it was, that there was a doctor's office, and the way I visualize it happened, the doctor's office was back there in that large room, There were examining rooms behind it. And no doubt the entrance to the doctor's office was up the porch and around the corner in that side door.
Yeah, that would make sense. And the house is what, roughly turn of the century, you think, or
Yes.
just after that?
Right?
Yes, prior to 1907.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we first moved here, all the bushes that are out on the front were very high, and it really seemed secluded.
Yeah.
But since then, they've been cut down, and now that the traffic all has to stop out there.
Was it
We
all?
get a lot
So I
more-
guess Columbia Street was always here, but were any of the side streets in as well originally? To your, best.
No, if you look, you'll see that Van Buren Street right there goes right straight through the house. If you lined up behind the house, so it was put in and came around. And then, to talk about that nice big tree again, they moved the road over 10 feet after they had it surveyed so they wouldn't impinge upon the ground around the Copper Beech tree.
Yeah, that's a beauty.
So that was put in about the time these people built this house across the street. And then this house next door here was part of this property at that time. And the people behind us tore the barn down that went with the farm when they built their house. So it's been fun to see it back then. I don't know what age we're talking about.
Yeah, it'd be nice to locate some pictures. And every now and then those turn up, and people are almost always fascinated by the size of trees in relation to how they are now, and it's.
Jim was amazed at how high the trees were and how
Yeah.
big, and how the the house is just kind of squished down in among all these trees.
Well, plus he was a littler guy. I'm sure the house was proportionally a lot bigger then too. So that
Well,
had to
He
do
was
true.
14 when he moved away from
Yeah.
here.
But still, I was in the kitchen across the street one day, and I looked out, and I was amazed at how the house didn't stand up among the trees very high.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized house for
It
this
is.
bungalow style house. It's really actually.
If it was
pretty
full 2
big.
stories, it'd be a big house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. But we have a lot of family get-togethers out here. Well, all sorts of get-togethers on the front porch.
There are not too many porches around town have paddle fans on the porch. And
Yeah,
that's great for summertime.
Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense.
And if there are a few bugs around, it blows them away.
Right.
And in a non-air conditioned house, to sit out on the porch in the summertime with that fan on is really good.
Yeah, in a previous show, we were talking to a woman in period dress over at the Cherry Hill, and she talked about how she, basically what they did to combat bugs was keep the air moving around with a handkerchief or a fan or whatever. To just that's what you did about bugs. So, yeah, it looks like it's been there a while, but and is a good it's certainly a good idea.
Yes, it really is.
And the swing you're swinging in, where'd that come from?
Well, our number 3 son, David, made this swing. He built it up in New England, where he lived at that time, still does, and brought it down for birthday or Christmas or something. So he put it all together and then tore it apart, and I came out one morning and he and his wife Shelley were out here in the porch reassembling it.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's several years, but it's a great addition. This is my favorite spot. My coffee cup sits right here, and I can kind of hide behind this post if I want to, but I can just see things out there. We love porches. Every time we see a house with a porch, when we're driving along, hey, look at that one over there.
Yeah.
And when I get a house with a porch on 3 sides, I think that's the ultimate.
Yeah, you get up and follow the sun around the
Right.
house. If
You stay, do it. Either stay warm or stay cool.
Particularly this time of
whichever
year
you want.
when you need the sun if it's available to stay more comfortable.
This is a north side porch, so you don't have too much trouble with the sun.
Yeah.
He also made the
Wind chime.
wind chime.
Oh, yeah?
And the table was our son left to us when he went to Japan to live. The couch over there, a friend gave to us when they moved away.
Yeah.
These chairs came from my folks.
Well, it's a nice
Yeah,
bunch of memories there, I'm sure.
right. And the wreath on the door, one of our daughter-in-laws made. So it really is a family place.
Yeah, well, I'm sure of that. And
Family
as you
is
said,
good.
there's several families who've been through here, and it's nice having memories of that.
It is.
And it's nice that you use it every day too. I mean, this is really pleasant. The trees are fantastic. The view's nice and nice depth to the view, and
Just
very
a-
active. So
Used to be I took the furniture off in the wintertime, and I thought, that's silly. Why?
Yeah.
Nice winter days, it's still good out here.
Yeah.
Just last week, This tree was still sort of yellowish green. This one was a true yellow. Across the street were bright, the deep reds. It was just beautiful. But the leaves have fallen. However, the copper beech still is beginning to turn and has some of the copper,
Yeah,
which is nice.
That's a fantastic tree. State champion, I hear.
Yes, it is. We have a ginkgo tree in the back, which is also a notable tree.
Uh-huh.
I've forgotten what the real term is for it, but has a plaque.
Yeah, we'd have to ask Dave about that, but so
This tree used to have a plaque, but the plaque's been eaten up by the tree.
The tree ate the plaque.
But all the neighborhood children have played in that tree. And a lot of initials
Yeah.
carved.
yeah, I'm glad it lived through that. It's a beautiful tree.
We have a porch up home also that we sit and watch the comings and goings of everybody.
So you're a porch people.
We are porch
You're-
people.
Of course, just about like
I'm
this. on
preaching to
that
the
house.
choir here.
And you see those old houses up there, a lot of them don't have porches. And if you look around, you find out why. They rot off.
Yeah.
And the trend is now that they'll keep the roof and replace the porch with a
The slab. Deck.
pressure treated wood.
Yeah.
So they don't try to replace or to duplicate the porch that was there, but they still have a porch.
Yeah. Well, at least there's some porch. Well, I really appreciate you all having me here today and sharing your porch with me and spending some time. I've had a nice time.
Well,
Thanks.
when you
Thank you.
walking by or driving by, you can just come up.
I'll pull over.
It happens quite a bit.
Okay, I'll do
It's
that
been
then.
delightful having you.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Nearly every street in Falls Church was arched over with trees. You walked under a bower. That's what made Falls Church so attractive.
Well, Barbara Cram and I are here on North Cherry Street, a very busy street this time in the morning. You're going to see a lot of cars going past us to work and school
And vote.
and to vote. Today's voting day.
That's right.
right. But by the time people see this, we'll already know who is leading us. Very scary thought. Well, Barbara, we're here with what's this tree right in the fall?
This is our sugar maple, which is supposed to be America's most popular tree next to the Christmas tree.
We'll call it, how about instead of Christmas, we'll call it the fall tree. How's
Yeah.
that? So on North Cherry Street, this is an interesting street in itself. The house in back of us was the home of Westcott Nurseries. And he donated all the trees for this street back in around 1910, something like that. And so sugar maples and the did cherry trees. This is why it's called Cherry Street.
Right.
But we're looking at the sugar maple today that were planted back then. And what do you know about some of these sugar maples?
Well, sugar maples are beautiful trees. They'll max out about 100, 120 feet in height.
Oh,
and
we got
then
some
their
ways
width,
to go then.
yeah, their width will be 50 to 60 in prime conditions. They like
A width of the canopy, not
exactly,
the trunk. Yeah.
Exactly. They
That would be great.
they prefer. They don't like the city very much. They're not.
They don't like the city of Falls Church?
Pollution, well, no, I'm saying they don't like city conditions in
Oh, okay.
general if they have a lot of pollution.
Oh,
But
okay.
Falls Church, being the clean place that
yeah,
it is,
yeah,
doesn't
right,
have
right.
the pollution. But it doesn't tolerate that very well, the pollution. And it doesn't tolerate heat very well either. There's several varieties that have been introduced to that won't succumb to a lot of heat. It gets,
So when you got a street right next to a sugar maple, and in the summer, and that sun hits the
pavement.
pavement and bounces off, you're saying that that's not good for the tree?
Well, generally speaking, they don't like it.
Okay.
You know, so you'll notice some leaf scorch and some wilt. You know, when you get, they are susceptible to particular wilt.
Especially down here.
Right, in the southernmost
Virginia,
areas.
yeah. Well, up in the north where I grew up, the sugar maples were used as street trees a lot,
Right,
and
yes.
were real successful.
Yes, yes, but they're much more. They're the state tree in Wisconsin, New York, West Virginia, and of course Vermont, and also
West Virginia. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They the trees. In fact, all those states, with the exception of New York, adopted as their state tree in 1949, which is interesting. One of the attributes of these trees is not only, I mean, they were really popular from colonial times. I think the Indians were instrumental in showing the colonists how to, tap the maple for syrup.
Oh.
And the sugaring goes on where they tap it in the winter, and then when the sap flows, when the days start getting longer, then it's collected and they take them to the sugar houses and they process it, and that's how we, of course, get our maple syrup.
Yeah, I've been up to Vermont, and I know you've been
yeah,
up there a
a
lot,
lot,
and
yeah.
had a lot of fun up there with it. But should we be recommending anybody tap these trees down in Virginia?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. It's a little far south. This is what, the southernmost border, you said?
Yes, pretty
of
much,
that?
yeah.
And these have a hard time surviving. Now, something has been boring on this, looking for the sap. You see all this? What do you think those are? Those
are borers.
sugar
But
maple?
lucky, see the pinholes here?
Oh, yeah. Right.
But this tree, generally speaking, if you see a good number of those, you're going to need to, call in your tree service. But at this point in time, you're going to see, sparse damage and things that are starting to affect the tree. But this is a really strong tree.
Yeah, it is very pretty. I always wondered how an insect that only goes to one tree, like a sugar maple borer, how they, where'd they come from if you all of a sudden plant a sugar maple?
Yeah, exactly.
How did they know to come to this?
Exactly.
How did they get there?
They probably come down from the trees, the cars that come down from Vermont.
Oh,
or
there you
something, who
go.
knows?
Yeah, okay. Wash your car before you come back
Right.
from Vermont.
But it's such a popular tree, and this time of year, everybody can see why.
Yeah.
And for the colonists, they use it for hardwood. It's a wonderful hardwood, and because it is there's a lot of furniture that's made out of maple. I know in the 50s it was one of the most popular woods for a lot of furniture, but also it has, because of that hardwood characteristic, you don't get the storm damage that you get with some other trees.
Well, that's good for down here because ice storms really get a lot of trees.
Right, and the wind and hurricane, backlashes we get here is also important.
Now, this tree and the ones in back of us are primarily yellow during the foliage. But I also know that they're very orange. There's one across the street here that's very orange right now, and they can be very red.
Yes, there are sort of stages that it goes through. It's like a chiaroscuro where it actually, the chlorophyll just slowly ebbs away from the tree, and that's why you get that really extreme, spectacular coloration that looks like they're hand painted.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering why some trees I look at, they're yellow, some they're orange, and some are
Right.
red, and I was wondering how
Different
that occurred.
stages.
Okay,
Different stages.
good. And we'll try to take some cutaways of different sugar maples, see if we can find them. This is a little late in the season. I mean, this is now in November,
Right.
and they're really supposed to have their leaves gone by now, I think, aren't they?
Yes, but it's been a great Indian summer, and
Yeah.
the plants are holding on as long as they can.
Right. Well, another reason that we're here today, beside this is fall, this is sugar maple, it's time to, is this is half of a canopy over a street. And
That's
we've
correct.
been really promoting trees that grow canopies. And now they're going to plant some more sugar maples along here. It's, I think, what did you say, the Green Mountain variety? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, that's been introduced for planting in the southernmost areas.
Okay. So you have to be real careful on which variety of a sugar maple you plant.
Yeah, it ensures more duration and
Okay.
longevity.
Well, one of the things we're really trying to promote with the Neighborhood Tree Program, which you've been a big supporter of, is planting trees, and we did our first one last Saturday
That's
on
right.
Charo. We're doing one on Saturday on Hillwood, and I just wanted to show everybody the neighborhood.
Gonna have
Careful
flashing,
now,
folks.
careful. The Neighborhood Tree Program, and down at the bottom of this shirt you can get, it says "Plant one right here." So wherever I stand, we're supposed to plant a tree. So I'm going to be standing all over town,
Flashing your shirt.
flashing
no
my
less.
shirt, and they can get one of these also.
Oh, good. What does one have to do to get one of those shirts?
Oh, to get one of these shirts, they can call Parks and Rec at 248-5077.
248-5077.
Yeah, put a
Okay.
703 in front of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. And
248-5077.
that's for the City of Falls Church. But the sugar maples. Now, another thing, getting back to our subject at hand,
Mm-hmm.
after getting carried away there, they can grow well in a dry situation.
They're very versatile. They like wet conditions, moist conditions, but They just need to have a lot of room. A lot of
Yeah.
people, you know, you can't plant this in the back of your townhouse yard.
Well, yeah, now that's an interesting thing. I've never understood why they can survive as street trees, because they have very shallow roots.
Yes, and you can't plant anything under them.
Yeah, right. You don't just
You'll
say
notice there's no flower
right,
beds under
right.
this tree.
Yeah, I'm not going to put petunias
Yes.
around here. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think as opposed to the silver maple,
Right.
the sugar maple doesn't eat up the pavement, I've noticed.
Right, and it tends to have a better sort of tap root system, and because it's hardwood, I believe, I think it's less aggressive
Okay.
than
Yes.
than
Okay.
a silver maple.
Okay.
is.
Yeah. The silver maple you put it around and everything starts getting chewed up.
Right. The silver maple has very long cell structure, which is one reason it's not a hardwood. And the silver maple is very susceptible to storm damage. Very susceptible. I've
When
seen
you
them
say the
split in
cell
half.
structure in the roots, or
And, no, in the wood.
In the
wood
wood,
structure,
okay.
right
Okay.
here. It's very elongated, which is one
Okay.
reason it's so weak. And in
interesting.
the hardwoods, you have shorter cell structure.
Oh, okay. Now, something somebody just told me around here, which is interesting, is that we have clay, right?
Yes.
And so it's hard to get good tap roots around here. So we'll have to make sure they plant trees that have a good root system, and sugar maple is one of them.
Exactly. And well-drained soil for any plant is very important. Just like you don't want to sit in a bathtub all day, these plants don't want to either. You know,
Okay.
a certain bit of rain is good, but it needs to drain away.
So if somebody wants to plant a real beautiful tree that has beautiful fall foliage and they have plenty of room, it's the Green Mountain
Sugar maple.
sugar maple.
Acer saccharum.
Sounds good to me.
Uncle George used to take me down to Mankin's Notions and Dry Goods, a corner store at Broad in Washington, where the office building is now. She always had candy, which was something we couldn't have at home. It was a great treat for me to go to Mrs. Mankin's store and have those marvelous penny candies. Uncle George used to carry me down to the store and get them for me. Mother didn't approve, but he did it just the same. I enjoyed it.
Hi, I'm Mike Diener, and once again we're at another gathering spot here in Falls Church, and this one is probably uniquely for a certain group of people, mostly kids. Come on in.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Mike Diener.
My name is Folk. How can I help you something?
You're the owner here?
Yes, sir.
This is great. How long have you been in Falls Church?
About 3 years. Around there.
Yeah? And who's most of your clients made up of? Is it young people, old people?
Most young people and
Like my age, right? Young my age.
no.
No?
No, the some like call about around kids 14 to 18.
I'm only 16, so.
Oh, you're on 16.
See, I got my
good.
helmet. I'm ready. Let's. You want to give me a tour?
Sure.
Okay.
That's just basic small shop. You can see it, look around, and
It's nicely packed.
yeah, most of them we just carry a BMX, and we do sponsor kid racing BMX.
What kind of bikes do they race on?
20 in, just basic. You can see in the wall right here, and more trophy. That's why we win 2 summer.
Who won all the trophies?
All the kid about 18 or 16.
And those are you sponsor them?
Yes.
Who won the big one?
One kid here been raced for me 2 years, 2 summer actually. And he just won Philadelphia like 2 weeks ago. He won the 3 trophy 3 days.
What's his name?
Alec.
See, we gotta get a plug in here for him. Now I hear you were a decent biker. Is that true?
Some kind of that.
Yeah. Younger days or?
Yes, yeah.
So what kind of helmet do they? They don't use these kind of helmets
No,
for
they
that
got
competition, do
color
they?
Protect helmet. They're
Uh-huh.
the hot shop, and they can use a scooter or skateboard, something like that.
Yeah, you got any?
You want to see it?
Yeah. I want-
Some color like that, real popular nowadays.
Let's see
and,
that, man.
So they come different color, and
do
that's
you
look
think?
good for you.
Yeah. Actually, this protects you a lot more.
Yes, yes.
That's pretty good. So
Yeah,
that's
I saw a
what.
couple kids, they racking, but there's nothing wrong with the helmet. The shape they had, and
How much is one of those helmets? Run?
$54.
Yeah, so you can tell because these are like 20,
34.
but they're not as good. I broke one. I broke a helmet once.
Yeah, every time
not
helmet
fun.
you rack, you gotta put a new one on.
Yeah, I went right over my. It was wet out. I was coming down the bike trail. Bike slid out. I went right over the handlebars and it hit the pavement like right here. Cracked the helmet. Didn't hurt me at all though.
This one or one
No,
before?
no, one
Okay.
before I had to throw it away. It was all broken.
Right. Every
But the
time.
helmets, definitely wear those helmets
Yes.
because I would
That's
have.
the report, and
Because I broke my wrist on it, but I mean I went straight over and didn't break my fall. Hit my head right on the pavement and just cracked this. No problem. So I'm a big believer in
good.
helmets.
yes. Yes.
So what kind of is this the kind of bike they
No.
perform in?
Actually, the rest that we have a model right here.
Hey, I like this one.
That's a bike from Bike Club team. Let's go the black
Oh.
one. Then on summer we win every Saturday or Sunday.
Wow.
Every kid they bring back a trophy.
But now you got older people in here, right? This looks
Yes.
like a commuting bike.
Yeah, for old people, most can even buy or repair for them or whatever they need. But I do a lot of custom bike too.
Ah.
Yeah.
Do you have some I can look at?
Sure. That it's our fam right here. If you're interested about road bike again, then I might be fit you up on one bike. I can put back together about a day or 2 days.
Wow.
Then whatever you want from there. And some of them they consignment bike right here. But real nice bike that people get tired riding or something like that. They just bring it in for consignment. It's real good deal. And because I know the bike for a long time, that's why I want to make the
Right.
fair price for new owner to take home or something like that.
How old is this bike?
That's like 97.
97. Cause look at that. Is that how don't they?
And the
Do they
shape,
put 'em
but-
up here now,
Right.
or-
Most of them they have XTX up here.
Yeah. What's how many speeds is that?
That's 21.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And this is where everything's done.
Yeah. I
All
try
the
to
real work.
No, actually, this wall right here just new. I just remodeled a couple of nights and it's not finished yet. I try to hang all two up back again. Then
So what, like after school, a bunch of kids come by here
yes,
and
they come here every day. Look like they're on the membership and bike club, but they just come hanging.
do they have any money though?
No, it depends. Some kid, they just come here for dream for like Christmas or their birthday or something like that. But most kids did not.
Don't they usually come around here and just like fill up their
Learn
tire?
something.
or-
Yes,
yeah.
they do. Yes, they do.
What else you want to show me? This looks, there's so much in here. You wanna
shop?
let's keep walking down
Okay,
here and
sure.
see what else. Pedals.
Paddle, own paddle. I sell new, used, or whatever people they want. And some people they don't have enough money, just like $5 or something that start from
Those
there.
are the kids, right?
Yes, actually, dope kid that most of them buy new.
Look at that. What's this?
That's got Kanban, that's repair. And the guy pay almost $2,000. And he been being just regular customer.
Uh-huh.
And he's just bringing it in like this buy and that buy, and he just bring.
Huh.
Oh, bird. Okay, I got 2 birds in the shop.
Oh. Do they ride bikes too, or
No, they just.
what are their names?
One named Joe and one named Purdy, and that's the little bird right there. The name Bite. He bite everything.
Good promotion. Great. And you've got a lot of stuff outside. Doesn't
Yes.
what do you do about rain?
Right now, actually, most of them just live outside. Somebody pick up it, or somebody wants something out here, or couple them for repair. But
So like these guys out here, do they have any money?
they do.
Do they spend money at your
They
store?
do. Yeah,
Why
they
do you guys
spend.
come here? Huh? Why?
Closest place to get bike stuff
It's the closest place to get bike stuff?
that you don't have to pay shipping and handling for.
Yeah.
How about using tools?
Are you using his tools? Does he charge you rent for that?
No.
No. You don't charge him rent for the tools?
Nah.
I have tools
It's
at
basic. I just want to learn how to use change the own tire for them and save money for their parents. Because some kids they can get flat at 3 days, three flat for day because they like jumping and
Yeah.
get flat, and that's the basic. Let them learn how to walk on their own bike.
He doesn't even have brakes.
Yeah.
How come you don't buy some brakes from him?
because that would be expensive.
Ah.
And plus, using my feet is better than bulldog brakes.
That's his.
Yeah. So does he come here a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Yes.
Yeah. Does he spend a lot of money though?
Yeah, I believe. Yes.
You spend a lot of money? Yeah. What do you buy? Where'd you buy? You bought the bike here?
Yeah, I bought 2 bikes here. Both tires. I bought.
Does that helmet do any good when it's like that?
It's my helmet. I bought,
Look at that.
I bought both
Yeah.
tires. I bought both tires, 2 bikes, and junk. This
Outs-
bike- he sold me this bike for $50.
Outstanding. Well, here we are, right on South Washington Street on Tinner Hill. Please come on down and come to the bike club and spend some money.
I loved going to the village. Everybody knew everybody. I would say, "Hello, Mrs. Brown," or "Hello, Mr. Hawkshurst," and they would all know me and my kin.
Well, today we're with 2 of the most familiar faces in Falls Church for many years, which we won't say how many they are.
No.
Okay, great. And not only have you been familiar faces for many years, but going back for generations in Falls
Yes.
Church. And we're here with Ruth Roby and with Nancy Adderholt. And I've known you probably about 8 years from the farmer's market, because you always come by our booth. But it was a few years after that that I found out who you were and your family lineage and connection to Falls Church. And that's through Mr. Harmon, Robert Harmon, the last blacksmith in Falls Church. And we're right here by the former building that was the blacksmith shop. And maybe one day we'll be restored to it again. Who knows? Ruth, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I have some interesting information here. We're on you. It's pretty interesting. So where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Washington, D.C. My family lived in Falls Church off of Annandale Road, and in about 1955 moved back to North Fairfax Street, where we lived until we sold the house in 1980.
Now, didn't you live at one time right over here where now Merrill House is, but the Wellses used to live?
No, actually my mother was born on that property when my grandparents rented a house on that property that the Wells owned.
That's great. So that used to be some kind of like a peach orchard farm?
I believe so,
That's
yes.
great. Well, that was very different than it is right now.
Definitely.
And for people who don't know, the Wells of Harry Wells, who was the city manager and the city hall is named after.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
Now, you have some interesting, you went to the Madison School, I believe.
Yes, Nancy and I both went to Madison for elementary school.
Oh, and here's a picture of you.
Yes, this
Where
is
are
my.
you? Where are
I'm
you?
right here
Oh,
in front
that's
of Miss
you. Okay.
Worsham. She was my first grade teacher.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. Okay, and here's the back of the school, but we have some shots of the front of the school. That's a what was that like?
Oh, the school. It's hard to remember a lot about it. I remember it being on 2 floors.
Right.
I remember the cafeteria being downstairs and the playground in the back. I guess you'd call them parallel bars, the swings.
Do you remember the stone that was?
The stone on the front of the building, yes.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting story. A 12-year-old girl is keeper of 320,000 bees, and there's a picture of somebody there. Who's that?
That's me.
Oh, what did you do?
Well, I was a Girl Scout here, and my troop was stationed at the Episcopal Church, and I wanted a badge that nobody else had. My father was born and raised in Clifton and lived on a farm and had raised honeybees. So I decided I wanted to earn the beekeeping badge.
Where were these 320,000 bees?
They were in our backyard at 117 North Fairfax Street.
I bet your neighbors really enjoyed that a lot.
They loved it a lot.
They did?
Well, the one next door after Nancy moved wasn't appreciative until he realized that they were pollinating his roses in his vegetable garden.
Oh, that's great. Well, good. And you also did something else in town that was quite notable.
I delivered newspapers.
Was that unusual at that time?
Yes, I was. In 1959, when I started delivering the Northern Virginia Sun, I was the only female carrier. And I continued on until 1965.
Do you have trouble with the boy carriers? I mean, did they tease you a lot or anything?
No.
Good.
No, I had mainly the downtown business section and the
5 businesses?
Oh no, oh no. I had Falls Church Camera.
Wow.
I had the Weona Beauty Salon,
Ooh.
WFAX Radio.
Excellent.
And
Mrs. Newcomb? Yeah.
yes, Haley's Real Estate.
Oh, there's a picture?
I have one at home, which
Okay.
I will get to you.
Okay.
At that time, Mr. Haley was the mayor of Falls Church, and I have a picture that appeared on the paper when I was seen delivering the paper to him.
That's great. Well, I was just teasing about the 5 because people don't realize in the late 50s, Falls Church was a booming downtown.
Yes.
It was the center of this area for commerce.
Yes, it was.
And it's not what it is now with Tyson's and Seven Corners sapping away.
No, it's
Yeah.
changed a lot, but I like that it's kept a lot of the old-time, small-town feeling.
That's great. Well, good. Well, we're going to talk about your grandfather in just a second. Let's talk to
Okay.
Nancy for a little bit.
All right.
Well, Nancy, tell me about yourself when you grew up. What was it like growing up in here was it New Hampshire or North Fairfax? What was it?
North Fairfax Street. We lived next door to Granddaddy and Grandmother and Ruth and Lynn and their parents on North Fairfax Street.
So you had 2 homes.
We had 2
Yeah,
homes.
so you lived next door, and you could you go into either home? Or was it?
All the time. You came home, there was someone always there. And for a short period of time, the house next door on the other side, my father's brother, Uncle Sam, rented for a while. So we
What was his name?
Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam Clark and his wife Aunt Ruth. So we had there all 3 houses there. Someone was always home.
So you could go to 3 houses back and forth.
You could go to any kid in that street could go to just about any house, and someone was always home. You never were worried about anything. It was fun to play. We used to sneak over to the Jefferson School where we weren't supposed to be to play, and there were things that we used to do that were kind of mischievous but fun.
Yeah, you don't see that anymore.
No, you don't see it anymore. You don't see catching lightning bugs in the backyard or things
In
like
mayonnaise jars.
In mayonnaise jars.
With the holes in the top.
That's right.
Yeah,
And her brother, my sister, is 4 years older than I am, Diane and Ruth, and we'd be out there catching lightning bugs. And you knew Lynn was somewhere in the backyard. You just didn't know where.
Uh-oh.
And then he'd just kind of step out with a flashlight up underneath of his chin that would light up his nose and his eyes, and he'd scare the living daylights out of you. But
Well, except for that part, I really
was
love
the only
everything.
thing This is the
I'd
only
love
thing
to.
you had to fear on Fairfax
Yeah.
Street was Lynn and that flashlight in the backyard, stepping out of the dark.
I sure wish we had that again.
Yes.
You're just running any house and
That's
it was
right.
okay. You weren't. That's because I barely know my neighbors.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I know a few of them. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Grandpa
Okay.
Harmon.
This would be a picture of Granddaddy when he graduated from blacksmith school in Pennsylvania.
This is him right here. This is a picture of the original blacksmith shop, which was a two-story frame building, and it burned down and was later replaced by the one that my grandfather had.
Mr. Lynch owned the original shop, and Granddaddy worked for him and then bought the shop from him in 1907. After it burned down in 1936, my father and his friends rebuilt the shop for Granddaddy, and that's the picture of how, and that's pretty much how it is today.
And this is a picture of the shop as it was rebuilt, and Granddaddy, Henry Sims, and I don't know who the other people are in the picture.
Granddaddy pretty much stopped shoeing horses in the late 1930s. Henry did all the shoeing, but he went on to build a lot of fittings and things for the city. He also was a member of the Falls Church Fire Department.
This is one of his membership cards, and we have a couple of the sets of bylaws from the Falls Church Volunteer Fire Department back in the 1930s. Our grandfather was eventually a lifetime member of the fire department.
And Granddaddy and his helper, Henry Sims, who was his helper ever since he started the shop, built the first, or fitted the first horse-drawn fire truck for the city, and had it at the shop when a fire broke out behind Brown's Hardware, and he and Henry hitched a horse to it that was being shod and rode it up to the fire and
almost burned the fire truck up. This is a picture of Granddaddy in the shop at the forge, which was one of the hottest places on earth during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a copy of a bill from Brown's Hardware, where they had sold them coffee and sugar. This was back in 1908.
And Granddaddy was frequently featured in a number of newspaper articles several times, and he and Henry constantly had that cigar. Never saw Henry Sims without a cigar.
And Granddaddy retired in 1957, and within probably about 6 months of his retirement, Henry died. And in 1968, Granddaddy died after just old age. He was almost 90 years old, but he lived a long life. And we have a hatchet that was said to have been made by Henry Sims' father, who was a slave in Northern Virginia. And we're proud to pass it on to the Historical Society because we don't know of any of Henry's relatives that are still alive.
And we're, really lucky that we have all of these things to keep the memory of Granddaddy going and the family history up to date for our future generations.
In 1915, our grandfather was on the town council, and we understand that he was the only member that voted against segregation.
So we're very proud about that. And we only want to show a couple more things, a couple of horseshoes from the shop.
This is being a corrective horseshoe.
Which I didn't know they needed corrective shoes, but hey. But
we all do at times,
I guess. But that's our history of Granddaddy and blacksmith.
And our memories of Falls Church growing up.
I heard music everywhere in town. A lot of folks had pianos and other instruments in their homes, and I could just walk up and down the street and hear people playing pianos and violins and singing. Some fellas were always sitting on the front steps of the stores down by the crossroads playing harmonica. Of course, there was music at church on Sundays and Wednesdays. A band always played at town picnics. One of my favorite things was dances at the Oddfellows Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, there really is music everywhere in Falls Church City, and I have a really neat surprise for you. Today we're at the Bangkok Steakhouse, relatively new restaurant here in Falls Church City, and we're with Vikai and Cleo. I'm going to pronounce their last name Siribangkat, correct? Yes. Siribangkat.
We really community-oriented restaurant. That's what we have. Like we have, all kinds of programming in the future to have here. Besides the good food, steaks and Thai food, and vegetarian dishes, exclusive vegetarian dishes, and American kids menu, which most Thai restaurants don't have. And so we're gonna have now. We have every Friday and Saturday nights. Every weekend we have house band, which I play.
Right.
Play guitar and sing. We play mostly pop, rock music, dance music, both Thai and American songs. And I have, quite a few friends there, 4 or 5 friends play with me.
Right.
And
well, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. Chai is acting very shy and telling you the routine items about his restaurant. But, when you're sitting here and you see posters of John Coltrane, you see music videos. I think I was just hearing Louis Armstrong. You have a Jimi Hendrix table. We have a B.B. King table. We have music everywhere, not only in Falls Church City, but everywhere in this restaurant. And I really want to encourage the listeners to come in. What exactly do you plan to do as far as music? You said pop music, but what else?
Yes. And now in the very near future, we're working on have a live American jazz bands coming here and perform here every Thursday night.
Chai, why jazz? Tell me about the Thailand and how you got interested in jazz music.
Well, jazz in Thailand is very popular. And I like it a lot when I was a kid. Now, but first I like the king, the compositions by the Thai king, His Majesty, His Majesty, the Bhumibol Adulyadej, the Thai king, and he has a lot of popular compositions in Thailand. He played all year round, and then I like that a lot. And then they came here to America, and I just like jazz myself. I play some jazz tune and blues and stuff.
Have you heard the King of Thailand perform?
I heard it on videos and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
On video.
Well, sometimes we show the king playing, throughout the dinner.
Yeah,
really.
He's very gifted. Matter of fact, he was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
You're kidding?
Yes.
It's amazing how little we know outside our own borders here. But Thailand, of course, I guess has adopted or has loved American music for a long period of time, and I welcome it. I think it's a wonderful idea.
And he used to jam with Benny Goodman, Louis Armstrong,
wow,
Stan Getz, Jack T. Gordon, and Stan Getz. I mean, these big guys. They used to go to Thailand and jam with them. Some people have some question about why jazz in the Thai restaurant. So they really have to make it very short. Like we use jazz as music as a theme, jazz and blues music as a theme for this restaurant. That because we play music, I like jazz and blues a lot. I play some blues myself, and the regular steaks we have in this country, we Thai people think it's kind of a little bland. So we jazz it up by Thai spices and seasonings and so. And we use jazz. That's why we use jazz as a theme. That's up the steaks.
That's really clever. Well, I mean, everything that I've ever enjoyed here has a distinctive taste, and it's unusual. This is a Thai tea.
Thai iced tea.
Thai iced tea. The Bangkok Steakhouse is available for meetings, for small office groups, for special performances, and I wish you could enjoy the atmosphere throughout. I mean, it's large. It has two very large rooms from back of the street to the front. The location is very convenient. I don't think I mentioned it's 926 West Broad Street, right across from the Old Foxes Music Company. And for my part, I want to welcome you to Falls Church.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would walk to and from the village along the roads, but I loved to walk the trails and alleys behind houses, through fields and woods. It just seemed more special.
Today we're going to walk up the Pearson Valley Trail in Falls Church, starting at Spring Street, going up past Irving and Kent Street, and a little beyond. We're starting right here, where the confluence of the Pearson branch of Tripp's Run crosses or goes under Spring Street, and we're right by the Scout House. The Scout House has been here since about 1940, and it was built for all Scouts in Falls Church. And it's also been used for many other purposes, including swing dances on Saturday nights during the 40s. They had actually big bands in there. This property right here is owned by the Scouts and then quickly turns into a public park called Berman Park. And this stream that we're seeing here is the Pearson Branch. Starts up around Don Beyer Volvo, flows mostly underground until it gets to the bike trail, comes out above ground for a little bit, flows underground, and only comes out at Irving Street. So let's take a walk up and I'll tell you some of the history of this stream, this valley, and this trail. Now Pearson, this is named after Mr. Pearson, who owned this land, had a land grant sometime around 1724 and was the first recorded deed holder after the King of England, and so that's why this area was named after him. This branch has been a naturally flowing stream from a spring-fed source, but it's been mostly put underground and a lot of engineering, and has stabilized the walls with cement, etc. It's not as pretty as it could be. There is some wildlife in there. You can occasionally find some little tiny fish called black-nosed dace, turtles, frogs, occasionally, and but it's one of the few places that are open with a natural stream bed. The stream bank occasionally falls in, and just a couple years ago they had to stabilize this again. Now, there are a lot of beautiful trees around here in the fall. Of course, they're turning colors. The red maples, got the red oaks here, have ash trees. Of course, the pine trees aren't changing their colors. This area here probably will be re-engineered to allow for a more natural stream bed over the next few years, because it has a lot of erosion, and so this is going to be even a more beautiful place with more trees planted here and a more natural stream bed. Now we've left the Scout property and we're heading into the Berman Park. Now, Berman Park was named after Irving Berman, and he was a developer in town, and he developed a lot of the houses along here and some of the areas up around Ellison Apartments. This stream right here is now, we're at the point where it's heavily cemented, and we've had a lot of problems in the stream here, as you can see from the litter, but also a lot of gasoline spilled. There's been some either local neighbors or businesses, we're not sure which, that have been regularly pouring gasoline into this, and the hazardous material SWAT team, you might say, has been called out many times, and they have not, to my knowledge, determined the sources of that. Now, once when I was down here with the Fairfax County archaeologist, he looked at the lay of the land and made an analysis that this had once been a beaver pond area, and there would probably up in this area been some form of an Indian settlement up on this hill up near Irving Street, and I thought that was quite interesting. Right here at Irving Street is where the pipes come out from underground. This is the first time that the stream is daylighted for any significant length of time, and we're hoping that eventually the stream will be daylighted throughout the entire park and restored to a natural setting. Now, walking back up the trail again up to past Irving Street, and we cross over, and this is more of the play area with play equipment. And this floods regularly when there is a heavy storm. We haven't had much rain in quite a few years to elicit that, but in the past years with the very heavy downform floods, this would be named after the individual who lives next door. They call this Fitzgerald Pond or Fitzgerald Lake. Most recently, the city arborist has planted trees that can handle this, like the river birch. But previous to that, some trees were planted that can't handle it, but since it's been so dry, these trees here, these evergreen trees, the spruce trees, came from the, they already have some Christmas decoration on, it looks like, but these are among the pageant of peace trees that come from the White House, the ellipse. And now they don't use living trees with root balls, they use freshly cut trees, but for a number of years they used freshly dug up trees with root balls, and they donated them to various jurisdictions, one of which is the City Falls Church. So we have a number of them here, and they've remarkably adapted. I'm surprised. Over here we have the playground as we walk along the Pearson Valley Trail, and this new set that's recently been put in, and notice that it's elevated. It's right over the stream. In fact, if we look at right here, there's some, I'll brush this away. As you look at the, it says storm drain on this. It's really a stream that was built upon. It's not just a storm drain, it is an actual living, fresh water stream, but treated as a storm drain. Some interesting trees over here. On the left you have Dawn redwoods. The two of them, or actually there's three of them. And Dawn redwoods were thought to have been extinct. They had fossil records, and they were discovered either in, I think, late 30s, maybe early 40s, by some biologists that were over in the back hinterlands of China. And the first one that was ever planted in the United States actually was planted in Falls Church. These are not. These are only planted a few years ago. They're very fast-growing trees, and they look like bald cypresses. There's quite a few trees here. Of course, the tulip trees. We have persimmon trees. There's a persimmon that has a native fruit on it, and more river birch that was planted. Again, the stream goes right through here, right through this low area. And like I say, hopefully that'll be dug up someday. And over to the right we have the maples and the oaks. You can see one was just cut down over here, and they left the wood here for some reason.
One of the most interesting things to me is that right in the middle of Falls Church, right in the middle of one of the fastest urbanizing areas anywhere, we have magnificent old houses and trees, beautiful music still in homes and on the streets, marvelous places to gather, and trails to return home on. It makes me wonder why these wonderful qualities of village life remain here in Falls Church.
Okay.